Alright gamers, well, if you saw my last LEGO game review of LEGO Marvel Avengers, I said and included it with the Force being strong. You know what that means. Yep, with another Star Wars movie coming out to be exact, a Han Solo spin-off. Yep. Let's take a look at more LEGO Star Wars games. Yeah, let's continue this saga. Since I already reviewed the first one last year before The Last Jedi came out, episode 8 to be exact, let's take a look at next time. LEGO Star Wars 2. Yeah. Obviously, since we have episode 9, or, well, we don't know exactly what the title's going to be with next year's Star Wars, which is going to be out in December to be exact, let's take a look at just this one and save the rest for next time. Anyway, let's get our lightsabers, laser guns, and Force ready. This is LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. Alright, well, I'm playing the version obviously on PlayStation 2, as you can tell. I don't think I have to go into detail on why I couldn't find the original Xbox version. But yeah, this one's pretty much released on any console. Even on the Star Wars Complete Trilogy it's included. But yep, when you start up the menu screen, instantly you know it's a love letter for you if you're a huge Star Wars fanatic. And especially being that this is based off the original classic trilogy. Yes, the most beloved, perfect A-plus trilogy that's flawless beyond comprehension. Yeah, the original, not the gold edition with all that crappy CGI and editing and all that nonsense. The original that most people know and talked about. The music, once again, by John Williams, should instantly draw you right in and how fantastic this game is and how faithful it is to the movies series. And just like the previous game, it is also not only one-player, but also two-player compatible. Yep, because it's a LEGO game and it's a team game. So, when you start up the game, you're brought, of course, to the Mos Eisley. And you play as none other than Captain Antilles, and of course Princess Leela, who you can swap back and forth between. And just like the previous game, you can't access the other two films. You have to start out with the first one and beat one part of the episode, and then, yep, just like that game again, you get the other two episodes unlocked. But let's not jump the gun here, because we're obviously going to go in chronological order because it would only be the proper thing to do. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Obviously, as you know the history behind this whole original trilogy, it was originally just called Star Wars. That's because Episode 5 and 6, Empire Strikes Back, and Return to the Jedi were obviously not around till years later, so that's why it obviously obtained the title Episode 4, A New Hope. So, yep. Just like the last game, you get the famous opening scroll. In fact, it's on all 3 episodes to be exact. That famous John Williams music to go along with it. It's like icing on the cake. All this iconic scenes that you remember from this movie are right in here, in LEGO style. So you have to obviously expect it to be a little bit stretched and a little bit silly, but for the most part, pretty faithful. The attention to detailing, just like the previous game, is exquisite. I mean, any Star Wars fan would be drooling at the mouth here just to see any of this stuff. And yeah, just like the previous Star Wars game, this is obviously before the talking era in LEGO games, so it's a lot of mumbling and stuff. But thankfully, you don't have Jar Jar Binks, so it would have been nice to have some actual spoken dialogue, but what are you going to do? It came out only shortly after the previous one. The gameplay, and as I said, the attention to detailing for most of the iconic scenes in this film are fantastic. I mean, it cannot be missed if you're a die-hard fan of this movie. And, well, you probably know the story. And keep in mind, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this movie or played this game, keep that in mind. Can't help myself because that's the only way I can review this game. But yep, as you know, a civil war breaks out in space. This is pretty much the start of it all. The rebellions obviously form an alliance to go against Darth Vader and of course the First Order, which create a thing called the Death Star. And Princess Leila herself obviously sneaks the plans to how to destroy the thing, hides it inside of R2-D2. But of course her ship is captured, and well, what do you gotta do? You have to fight your way through all the different stormtroopers, and get the hell out of there. It's all there, people. Yep. And you know the rest of the story. The androids themselves, like R2-D2 as I mentioned, and C-3PO, both captured by Jawa traders. This is where, of course, it brings you to the Junland waste planet, like in the movie again. This time he plays Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And you gotta fight your way again through stormtroopers. Like Princess Leila, Obi-Wan Kenobi obviously gets a laser gun. Luke Skywalker, on the other hand, gets a lightsaber. Sweet. And of course, the Force. What else do you expect? You pretty much know about this stuff in the rest of the game. Lightsaber can do all sorts of tricks, take out enemies, and of course deflect enemy projectiles. Takes a little bit of practice there, of course. You eventually, of course, free the androids, and like any other LEGO game, lots of problem solving, lots of puzzles, can be tricky, but man is it fun. I said this so many times with all these LEGO games. You make your way through, and yet you can even, of course, ride these animal things. These things, of course, don't really have too much to offer with transportation because they're slow and tricky to control. And I should mention, just like in the previous game, I don't think I really have to, the droids are useful for, well, opening different doors and accessing these things that obviously have their face on them. R2-D2 can float for a temporary time, but C-3PO obviously can't even jump, so, yep, can only walk steadily, just like the freaking Tin Man on Wizard of Oz. Yeah, seriously, he's very slow, but what do you expect? And neither one of these droids can fight, or assemble any LEGO objects. So, in other words, leave the fighting to anything that's not Android. And moving, of course, into the desert, into the bar itself, you get that famous scene with Han Solo himself and Greedo. Yes, that controversial moment that people couldn't shut up about, the fact that they kept changing it so many damn times. I'm not going to get into that. And yep, you get to not only play as him, and yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am for the origin story movie about him. That's why I'm doing this review. As well as the Wookiee himself, Chewbacca. Yep, not much to say. If you played the previous game, you already know what he uses. He uses his laser crossbow. And yep, Han Solo himself also uses a gun. Laser gun, to be exact. So, not much out of the ordinary here. Also, anybody with a gun, just like the last game, can grapple up to higher grounds, wherever it's marked. But none of these characters can jump high or long in this game. So yeah, I guess Jar Jar Binks is the best jumper, even though he's the most despised character out of this whole franchise. But still, out of these two games, entirely, he's the best jumper. But otherwise, yep, you play as Han Solo and Chewie, fighting your way through. Moy's Isley Spaceport, of course, this time. Not exactly like the one in the startup screen where you select the different levels. This time, of course, it's a level itself. Because, well, you can walk inside, outside. Basically, you try to meet up with the other guys, forming a big team rebellion, leading to, of course, a boss fight against, well, an Imperial spy and his stormtrooper minions. Not too hard, but just kind of monotonous and annoying trying to take out all these stormtroopers, drain all his hearts. Then time for a ride on the one and only Millennium Falcon. Sweet. And just like he said in episode 7, Chewie, we're home. Off to rescue Princess Leia, which you eventually do, after breaking into the Death Star, of course. Then, with an even bigger rebellion team, it's time to get the hell out of there. Lots of teamwork, lots of fighting, and yeah, I know, fighting off a lot of these stormtroopers can get very monotonous. And yeah, it actually has a pretty interesting trick with trying to get to these doors, you know, being that only stormtroopers can get through. You have to find a helmet, which the machine gives you when you pull these levers. And, well, this is probably this part's only flaw. Obviously, you have to show yourself wearing it, and yes, even Chewbacca himself can wear a stormtrooper helmet. Chewbacca in a stormtrooper helmet. How ridiculous looking. But with the other characters, well, it's much more believable looking, but seriously, Chewbacca, it's just not very believable looking. I mean, who would buy that? But anyway, yeah, when you get these helmets, there's more than one of these doors along the way that you have to get through, and you have to wear these helmets. When you get hit once, because yeah, every character has 4 hearts, like in any other LEGO game out of the ordinary, and unlimited respawns. But when you only take one hit from any enemy, that's it, you lose the helmet. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Sometimes you have to go so far back because they're at very fixed locations, and well, you can end up losing the helmet, and then have to go all the way back. I mean, come on, give me a break. Isn't it bad enough these stormtroopers keep respawning so many times? I mean, look at this. Look at how many of these damn things there are. God damn. Yeah, this gets very monotonous having to fight these things. You can use the lightsaber, do that, you know, ground pound trick, but yeah, it's just easier to pick the characters with the laser guns. You got a couple occasions where you have to drive these vehicles, and once again, like any other LEGO game, they get tricky to control. Ugh, I hate this. Finally get the hell out of there. And then it's finally time to take out the Death Star once and for all in another flying stage. Another one of these. Don't worry, it's not nearly as hard as the last game's vehicle stages because, for one thing, you get unlimited respawns wherever you die, thankfully. It's none of this checkpoint bullshit or anything like that. you get to start up where exactly you died. Yes, 4 hearts, but what difference does it make? Basically, you can take out these enemies that are shooting at you, any deterrent guns, but most importantly, you have to obviously take these missiles, which getting them can be a little awkward. Yes, these controls again can be a little iffy, turning yourself around and so forth, but you have to take out each 4 of these things with these missiles. Can be a little tricky, but it's passable. And finally, get a few of these missiles, and take out the Death Star once and for all. Classic cutscene right there, where Luke flies in, accepts the medal, and that music, oh, couldn't be more awesome right there. But it's anything but over from there, obviously, so that's just the first of these 3 episodes of the original classic trilogy. On to episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Alright, well, taking place exactly 3 years after the last one, and made 3 years after the last one to be exact. Plot to this film, in case you don't know, is of course that Darth Vader is trying to obviously track down the rebellion force. Which brings us to the ice planet known as Hoth, where Luke Skywalker is, well, trying to survive in these cold temperatures, and, well, First Order sends in their walkers. And, well, it involves another flying vehicle stage. Again, could be awkward to control, you know, trying to get used to and everything like that. But it's a lot of fun. Shoot things, and again, you have unlimited respawns. It's like this throughout the entire game with all these vehicle stages. You have my word on this one. But that's not your main objective, of course. Your main objective is, of course, to grab these bomb things, which you have to lasso, unfortunately. And yes, this can be a little bit awkward right here, because half the times they come loose, and there's so much shit shooting at you. I mean, you got these little android things, these small little walker things. It's just chaotic beyond belief. But once you grab one, get it into the wall, there you go. Luckily, if you do die, you can just re-grab the thing. And, oh, come on, this is just annoying. Starts out easy, but then this just gets chaotic, because you have a certain amount of these things you have to take out, whether it's these small walkers, these small little android things that fly around, and yes, you get the big guys.